Two screens, two different views. That's what we're all about. Welcome to Dual Screen Radio, where listening is good.
Hello, folks. This is Shane R. Monroe.
And this is Chris Hentschel.
And welcome to another edition of Dual Screen Radio, where listening is good. We have a busy show, don't we, Chris?
Yes, we do. There's quite a lot going on these days in the world of the Nintendo DS.
That's right. And we are sitting here online on Tuesday, what is today? The 9th, right? Yes. We're sitting here Tuesday the 9th, waiting with bated breath for the Nintendo conference to go live at the Electronic Gaming Expo. Very exciting. So we thought that we would have some of this ramped up enthusiasm to bleed over to the show while we're telling you some great things that are going to happen here at E3, as well as some things we speculate, and a bunch of new information that's come down since our last show. So we have, obviously, a giant touch-and-go section for you this month. Our editorial commentary this month, we're going to talk a little bit about DS Homebrew. Now, in a previous show, we asked if our listeners would be interested in DS Homebrew, and that brought in a whole bunch of other questions and comments, and we're going to talk about that. We're also going to give you reviews on Ubisoft's recent release, Lost Magic, which is a very light RPG that is mostly a real-time strategy game that throws in runic magic as a bonus. So I think you're going to enjoy that. Chris and I are going to talk about Top Gun, the horrible logoed Mastiff Games release.
Hire a new logo creator, guys.
Yeah, it's time to get an updated clip art, one that didn't come out like in 1991 to draw your Mastiff dog from. But we're going to give you a review of the much-hoarded gaming property Top Gun. And, of course, we'll have our regular coming attractions, what's out now, what you should be spending your hard-earned cash on. We'll update you with the website and tons more on this episode of Dual Screen Radio. Wow. We have an exciting long show here.
Yeah, and it's, like you said, it's on the verge of the E3 the day before, and we got the Nintendo conference about to get underway in a little while.
Oh, that's going to be insane.
Yeah, the next show should be a blowout because we're going to have so much stuff to talk about and what came up at E3, and I can't wait to see what's going to happen, especially with their new console.
I'm so stoked. Well, let's start the show off. We're not going to dwell on this for too long. We're going to talk a little bit about the whole DS homebrew scene, because there seem to be some questions, there seems to be some misconceptions of what's going on, and if we're going to talk about it on the show, then we want to make sure we set some boundaries, because homebrew is kind of what we would call a gray area, as it is with any commercial gaming console. Do you want to give them kind of an overview, Chris, about the whole protection thing, or do you want me to do it?
Well, I mean, it seems to me that if people want to play homebrew stuff on the DS, that there seems to be a little bit of a fence there, you know, because you got the obvious crowd that wants to do it for negligible reasons, which really are kind of shady, but then you got those other people that would love to do it for just the fact that there's a lot of programming involved and a lot of learning opportunities involved, and a lot of neat little programs and software that you could actually use with the DS and make the most of its Wi-Fi or microphone or touchscreen abilities and kind of blend it in with something on their own. But then you got the shady side, which obviously says, well, we're going to play some games for free. We're going to just kind of, I don't know, what would you call it, free ball the court?
Yeah, free ball the court.
So, it's kind of a rough subject. I mean, we don't want to really talk about anything shady, but at the same time, there's just so many exciting things going on in terms of all these little programs that people have dreamt up and programmed and come up with. All these neat little software apps that are pretty amazing to see playing on a DS that it just seems like a crime not to even kind of bring up and discuss.
Yeah.
It's not even to the point where is this legal. It's just an interesting thing to discuss and talk about.
But we do want to make sure that we're very straightforward in that we are in support of buying your software and paying for your games, paying for your hardware. It's a matter of not just, to cover our asses or anything. It's more a matter of both Chris and I really believe in the Nintendo DS, and while piracy doesn't really hurt the industry nearly as much as they'd like you to believe, I do believe it still does hurt the industry, and that there are potential sales lost. And in that respect, we don't want to see the DS fail because we're here on the show telling you how to use these legally gray devices to play homebrew, and you just happen to not buy the new Super Mario Brothers, or you don't buy Lost Magic or Top Gun because you figure, well, why should I pay for it when I can get it for free in addition to playing this legally gray, this homebrew stuff. So we want to be very clear that our goal here is to provide you with information about what you can run on the DS, not necessarily how to do it, and we're going to put a blanket statement out saying that we're going to ignore any emails that ask us where to get these legally gray products, what these products are, how they work, how do they make their DS work with it. You're going to have to figure that out on your own. But when we do see products that could be of a legal nature, like what we're going to talk about in Touch and Go this month, then we will pass that on to you. But in no means are we sponsoring or giving our blessing on such products.
And that's the thing. I mean, the one little Touch and Go segment we have this month, or this week, it's something that kind of relates to what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So it's when something like this comes out from quote unquote a legitimate source, it's kind of hard to ignore what's going on in just the regular humdrum customer homebrew market. When you got somebody part of the main retail field doing something that's kind of on the edge of doing the similar thing.
Yeah.
We'll discuss it in the news section, but
absolutely. And one of the big misconceptions that we have seen on our message forums are that people don't believe that modifying your hardware in order to play homebrew, not illegal game ROMs or whatever, but to actually play legitimate firmware or software homebrew, that it's okay to modify your DS or modify your PlayStation or whatever to do that. And if you're here in the United States, you're bound under what was recently signed in, 2001, the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, which actually forbids you from tampering or circumventing copy protection devices. That means if you modify your DS to play homebrew, not to play game ROMs or to play anything illegal, you're still breaking the law. And that's something that everybody should be completely clear on. Of course, you're also probably violating your warranty with Nintendo or whoever else it is that you're purchasing.
It's kind of over for the warranty.
Yeah, so those are the sort of things, we want people to be excited about homebrew, but we want people to be informed about how it works as well. So
yeah, this isn't just about, oh, look at me, I'm downloading and playing the latest Nintendo game or whatever it has come out for the DS a month beforehand. It has nothing to do with that. It's more about, look at this guy did with Dragon's Lair. I think that's one of the things I thought was the cool part. This guy's got Dragon's Lair running on the DS.
Let's get into the software. I mean, we've harped on the whole legal thing, and understand that moderators on our forums have been instructed to nuke any sort of questionable posts with regards to copyright infringing products. Unfortunately, you have to have copyright infringing products to run homebrew. That's just the way it is. There's no way to get around not being legally gray and run homebrew. So be warned, we won't answer your email. We'll delete your forum posts. Once you're to the point to where you feel comfortable and you've got a homebrew playable DS, that's when our information is going to become useful to you. And the DS homebrew market is unbelievable. There's tons of cool stuff out there that you can run on your DS. Chris just mentioned one, which if you listen to my Retro Gaming Radio show, you know that I'm a big slut for the old Laserdisc video games like Dragon's Lair, Space Ace, Us versus Them, etc. And to see Dragon's Lair running on the Nintendo DS, and this is actually really funny because there's a company that produces video cartridges for the Game Boy Advance. I can't remember the name of the company off the top of my head.
Yeah, I'm not really. I can't remember off the top of my head. They're the ones that do the Ninja Turtles and SpongeBob and
all of those huge Game Boy Advance videos. Anyway, well, these guys moved into the DS market and they created some sort of a codec or a compressor that does incredible looking video on the DS screen in really small sizes. So as a demo to kind of promote or to use something worthwhile, they took the first 4 levels of Dragon's Lair, compressed them into like what is it, 1.8 megabytes?
Yeah, it's like 2 megs or something.
Yeah, it's like 2 megs, and it runs on your DS, and you get 4 full levels with the depths and the attract mode and everything.
Yeah, everything's there. I mean, it's really amazing. I mean, the compression, I guess, due to the resolution, just brings the file size down to that size at 2 megabytes. It's just blowing how much is in there.
It's truly mind-blowing. Now, this, of course, again, is legally gray.
That's the important thing. I mean, it's playable. I mean, you can actually sit and just watch the video, but you can actually play it as well. The guy's got it actually down to the point where you can, in Dragon's Lair, it was never really about having complete control over Dirk, the Daring. It was always something would flash, and you would have to time it just correctly, and that would cue another set of animation, just for those people who don't really know how it works. And all that interaction in terms of pointing in the right direction, it's all there. The buttons to swing the sword. It's really, really cool how he pulled this off. And the video is very crisp, too.
Oh, it's incredible video.
For what the DS can handle, anyway. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting sign of things to come. And, it is not, it's even probably more illegal. It's probably more illegal even than most homebrew, because they don't have permission to use the Dragon's Lair video. Right. I'm actually kind of in bed with not only Don Bluth, who did the animation, but also Digital Leisure, who actually owns the rights to pretty much every home version of Dragon's Lair. And none of them are aware that this guy is doing this or that it's even available. And so I actually ended up writing to the Digital Leisure folks just to let them know, because they're friends of mine, and I wanted to let them know, hey, somebody's kind of tromping on your intellectual property. I said, it's really cool. I mean, do what you have to do, but, you might want to get in bed with these guys because they're obviously doing something very cool. And that video's still there. The game itself is still on that dude's website. So maybe they worked something out. I don't know.
But then again, it's only the first couple of levels, too. So it's almost like it's a demo.
Yeah, it's almost like a trailer.
So, exactly. So even if they did go and, buy this guy's rights, or not rights, but, his programming to actually put this out themselves, they could easily use that as just a self-contained demo to give you an idea of what's going on.
Yeah. Really cool, and you can see how this thing just propels. And this is why, and let's be honest, this is a perfect example. Let's take a moment. This is a perfect example of why companies like Nintendo and Sony, Digital Leisure, whatever, do not want you running homebrew on these machines, because while there's a million different benign programs out there for DS homebrew, if you're going to skirt the law enough to put homebrew on the DS, you're willing to skirt the law enough to go snag some Dragon's Lair video and make it into a game. Right. So it's like, it's a snowball effect.
Going downhill. Yeah.
And where do you draw the line? You're willing to do this, or are you willing to do that? And that's why homebrew is so unfavorably looked upon. That's why Sony does everything in their power to keep you from running homebrew on their console, on the PlayStation Portable. So that's an interesting little segue. But let's talk about some of the things that are a little less legally gray. There are incredible products out that people have put in, and let's talk about at least two of them. Moonshell and DS Organize. Why don't you take one, Chris?
Well,
what's your favorite?
The Moonshell, I've actually only had a little limited test on. I've only tried it out for a little while, but it's really impressive of what it is. It's almost like a little self-contained. It's nothing extravagant, I could say that way. I guess it's more like a GUI that allows you to do more or less minimal media playing. So you get some video and you can do some MP3s. Now, I find either of these things useful for me for the DS. I already have a music player, and if I want to watch video on the go, I tend not to do that anyway. But it's the resolution would just be too small for me to even want to even factor in watching on the DS. But that would be the one that would really, interest me, even though I have no interest. I just think it's fascinating what people are doing with it.
Yeah, I mean,
an MP3 player. I mean, you shove some, secure digital memory in there, and you've got your own limitless, MP3 player out of the DS. So if you were somebody who was pretty hard up on getting an MP3 player, by itself alone MP3 player, and you're stuck with a DS, this would be kind of a cool little thing to do on the sideway. And on the other hand, though, if you're going out and forking the money over for memory cards, and the means to do this, you probably have the money to go buy an MP3 player.
Right.
So,
yeah, that's a good point. A lot of people are into convergence. I'm not personally into it. And I can honestly say I don't use Moonshell a whole lot, but it is kind of nice to be able to say, hey, I want to take an audio book on the go or something like that. You can throw it onto this SD card. And
going on a plane trip, you want to throw a little audio book on your DS, there you go.
There you go. I mean, so there are practical uses, and Moonshell's pretty cool. It's sort of like Chris said, a little mini GUI. And it's it's almost like a little operating system. It's got its own little windows to drag around, and you can play.
It's very reminiscent of like Windows 3.1.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought too when I first saw it. And you can, and this thing will play videos. You have to convert them, of course, which there's free conversion tools, fortunately. It'll play MP3s. There's an OGG plugin, a JPEG PNG plugin, so you can look at pictures. And Chris is right. I mean, the screen is very small, but people obviously it's not that small. Because people by the millions are buying those stupid little Game Boy Advance movies to watch on Game Boy Advances. Those things sell like mad. 2 cartoon episodes on a cart. And
I see kids with them all the time, like at the doctor's office.
That's insane.
Or a dentist office. I mean, mostly the dentist office. Last time I was at the dentist office, a little girl sitting there with her Game Boy SP watching SpongeBob.
Yeah. So there's obviously some sort of a market for it, no matter how small the screens are. And for some reason, everybody's dying to make the DS some sort of a multimedia device.
Yeah. Well, they're trying to compete, I guess, with the PlayStation Portable. So,
yeah.
It's a similar idea, though, in that what people have been doing on the PlayStation Portable, taking their DVDs from their collection and spinning them down and trying to get them to fit in the resolution and size constraints of what the PSP memory cards have.
Yeah. Yeah, and so I converted Batman Begins, and I put it on the card just to see what it looks like. And it's totally watchable, but it's a matter of the DS and portable devices in general are on-the-go devices. You're getting ready to run out the door for a doctor's appointment. You go, oh man, I may have to wait. Let me grab my DS and go. It's not like, hey, I'm like 4 hours before my doctor's appointment. I'm going to want to watch a movie. I better go ahead and convert it now.
Yeah. That's the whole drawback for me. I mean, I don't have the time to sit there and convert a movie down. And,
That's right.
How long did it take you to do Batman Begins? It took like at least an hour or so.
It took a couple hours, yeah. I mean, because I pulled it off of my DVD, then it had to be,
which you owned, by the way.
Which I do own. I own Batman Begins. Great movie. But, it takes a good amount of time, and I don't care what software you're using. You can you can go to the website and say, fastest encoding available. Dude, you're still talking about a couple of hours.
Yeah, you're still kind of confined to what your PC can put out in terms of speed, too.
Absolutely. So, Moonshell's a cool tool, and it's, much heralded in the DS homebrew community as one of the best applications, and it is. But again, do you have an MP3 player already? Do you have a PlayStation Portable or a GP2X or a mini DVD player? Do you already have the means to do this stuff already? I don't know. Now, maybe more importantly, and this is something that I've actually seen somebody consider buying a DS strictly for, which doesn't make any sense to me, is DS Organize, which is how would you say it, a PDA package.
The Palm Pilot-looking package.
Yeah.
Where you can get the calendar and the whole deal, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, it's basically a personal organizer. Your to-do list, a calendar, events, contact lists. What are some of the other things in there? I think they have a scratch pad now, a memo pad where you can just free draw on it.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask you, because I saw the picture that you were, I think from the DS Lite thread, or not thread, the gallery you made for the last couple shows ago for the DS Lite. You actually had DS Organize in one of your screenshots, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think I did.
Right. So that's one of the things I wanted to ask you, if it actually does recognize the stylus in terms of writing.
Yeah, there's some sort of a basic graffiti, for those of you who've used Palm in the past, a graffiti recognition system, and there's also a touch screen keyboard on the bottom screen, Right. So if it's something that sounds useful to you, it probably is. My problem is, and here's this is the problem I have with Palm, with Windows mobile devices, with anything that's portable, cell phones. I use very non-standard software. I don't use Internet Explorer. I don't use Outlook. I don't use any standard software. Well, the only thing
Windows
that
Media Player.
Yeah, don't use Media Player. So any of these PDAs out there, like Palm or
Windows,
Axum, all of these portables, the only thing they sync with is Outlook. So if you really need your contacts on the go, your calendar on the go, if you need anything on the go and it needs to be synced with something, if you're not using Outlook, you don't get anything. You don't get that feature.
That. I always had that problem with my old Sony Palm Pilot. The Klee.
The Klee.
It seems like everything was Outlook, and I think that was the whole reason a lot of these Palm Pilots weren't compatible with the Macintosh, because Macs didn't have Outlook.
Yeah, so if it doesn't sync, then you're not going to keep two separate copies of your contacts. It's not going to happen. And if it doesn't sync with something that you use, then you're not going to use it. And that's sort of where I sit on the whole DS Organize thing. Yeah, it's cool that it's got a calendar, you can make some notes and all that sort of thing. But I'm not going to keep my contact list on it. I've got my contact list in my email program, which is not compatible with any sort of syncing at all. So it comes down to how useful is it. It's cool. Don't get me wrong. The guys put a lot of time and work into it, and it works. But how much use will you get out of it? Your mileage may vary, as the expression goes.
Which is probably why Nintendo never included the function to begin with.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of those things where, now, on the other hand, who knows what the future's going to hold? If the rumors that we're hearing about the Nintendo Wii happens to be always on internet connectivity, who the hell knows? You may be able to sync your PC up to that, or keep a contact list of your friends on your Wii and have it synchronized directly to the DS. I know. I'm not used to the Wii thing yet either.
List of contacts on your Wii.
Yeah, tell me. Yeah. I got my Wii contacts here. No, I keep, every time I say the word Wii, I don't think of like we as in We the People. I think of we as in that kid from Calvin and Hobbes pissing on something on the back of somebody's,
Exactly. I think of well, a wee wee.
Yeah, I think of what a little kid calls his penis. Yeah, it's my wee wee. Let's just cut right to the chase here. But, who knows?
Next year we'll be used to the word and everything will be fine.
Yeah. I mean, I've already kind of settled into it. I thought Revolution was a better name, but whatever.
What do we know?
What do we know? We're not marketing people.
We don't make $100,000 a year.
That's right. I'm not an artist, but I know what I like. I'm not sure I like Wii yet, but we'll see what happens. Well, let's see. We'll go ahead and I think that's enough homebrew for this episode, right?
Well, it kind of gives you an idea of how we feel about it, I guess, the stance behind it, and pretty much what you said hit it on the head.
Yeah. So that kind of gives you an idea of a couple of programs out there. We'll talk about more stuff on the next episode.
There's a lot of stuff.
There's a lot of stuff.
I was just reading about a IRC client you can use.
Yeah.
And somebody's trying to put Linux on there, although it's in text format, it seems so far. A lot of this stuff is kind of, it's more or less, is it useful? No, but is it interesting? Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
Is it functional? No, but is it kind of cool to look at to see what somebody has actually done with the programming and the hardware and, what kind of software they've actually come out of it?
And, I mean, they've even got game development packages out there, homebrew game development packages that if you're, an inspiring programmer, you can write your own stuff on there. How cool would that be?
That's the cool part right there. The cool part isn't being able, like we said before, being able to play the games for free. It's nice to see people actually being able that are into this kind of thing to sit and program their own little games around it. I'm still waiting for the first, DC Pac-Man or DS Pac-Man. I'm sorry, DC. I'm sitting here looking at my Dreamcast, and the DC kind of came in the thought.
That's funny.
But you're always waiting for that Pac-Man clone to appear. Everybody starts out or a Pong clone,
Pong and Pac-Man, man.
Yeah. Air hockey.
And Arkanoid. Breakout.
Arkanoid, yeah. How cool would that be? Arkanoid with the stylus.
That would be actually really cool.
Really nice stuff.
Yeah, have the tall screen, so you got the vertical orientation.
Oh, yeah, that'd be cool.
That'd be cool. Okay, well, that'll wrap up our editorial piece in our Slant Homebrew section for this episode. Let's move on to our reviews. We've got two of them for you. We've got a Top Gun mini review and a Lost Magic full review. Compliments of both of us this month. We've both gotten into the games, so we both have a view screen to give you. Which one do you want to do first, Chris?
Lost Magic's fine.
Okay.
We'll start out with Lost Magic. Lost Magic is the newest game to come out of Ubisoft. Ubisoft was kind enough to bring it over to the States. It's actually a Taito game. It's been out in Japan for a little while, but Ubisoft said, let's bring this over. It looks like the RPG market is a little thin right now in the U.S., so it's a really nice little game to see appear over here. It's all translated and ready to go. Actually, something nice from Ubisoft, coming off the Rex that were, Splinter Cell, which I think was a port from a Nokia cell phone, and
yeah, it was pretty unpleasant.
Yes, pretty unpleasant is right. And then the Lunar Dragon, was it Dragon Song?
Yeah, Dragon Song.
I was a big Lunar fan. A huge letdown. So it's nice to see Ubisoft actually bring something good over. I mean, next to EA, they seem to be hands down, or even Activision, hands down, trying to actually sabotage the DS. But enough of that, because Lost Magic is one of the first RPGs / real-time strategy games that you're going to find on the DS right now. The RTS factor is what really drew my attention to this game. I really was dying to see how a real-time strategy game would be kind of pulled off on the DS, not to mention the fact that it's a fantasy element, which I think is really cool. I mean, everybody's so used to seeing military ones, that
yeah.
It's nice. I know you love the whole fantasy aspect.
Oh, me, definitely. I mean, me, as long as there's lots of magic involved, I'm in.
Yeah. So this was really cool, and I gave it a shot and checked it out. It's the same kind of run-of-the-mill storyline. You've got this little kid or this main character who's got to save the world or got to save somebody, but they factor in, instead of having you got your hit points, you got your magic points. It's the typical. The one thing that really threw me off at the beginning of this game was the sheer amount of text. There is just so much text to wade through. I'm all for a good story, but it just seemed like it was droning on, and it was nothing really original. It's the same stupid story.
Yeah, it's kind of like my wife called it the American RPG Lord of the Ring.
Yeah.
That's what my wife said. She goes, "Oh, so it's Lord of the Rings." I'm going, "Well, yeah. Now that you mention it, I guess it's kind of like that." Yeah.
Yeah,
Except for instead of rings, it's wands.
Well, I've been tending to skip a lot of the text, so I really can't tell you about the storyline overall. I caught the gist of it, and some guy's father gets, I thought, killed at the beginning, but he seems like he's still alive, and I'm not even sure if he's still alive at this point. But maybe I guess if I read the story a little better.
Yeah, you know what? Forget about the story. Who cares about the story?
I just wanted to go on and on. I just wanted to get to the meat of the game.
That's right.
The point is, you're going to be wading through a lot of it at the beginning.
A lot of button mashing, and they don't help you get through it. I mean, it's not like Trauma Center where you can hit select and burn right through all the text.
Exactly.
Doesn't work that way.
It would have been really lovely to have had that here.
That would have been nice.
It starts out with a nice, huge tutorial that shows you how to play the game. You're a wizard, and instead of tapping a button or selecting a spell from your screen, your little database of spells, you're actually given a little, I guess you want to say, a pictorial of how to actually draw the spell. You actually draw the spell on the touch screen.
Yeah, it's rune tracing for those who are familiar with it.
Rune tracing, yes, I like that word. That's even better.
Yeah.
So you start out with the simple fireball spell, and you're thrown onto a map. It's a battle map. You can actually pan around the screen by using a directional pad, and you have the enemies. You have an overall map on the top screen showing you where everything is. So the bottom screen is your play field, and you're using the stylus to tap on the guy that you're moving around. Can you custom name him? I don't know. I even kind of lost track of his name. I'm thinking of Tao's Adventure. That's my problem.
Yeah, I know. You're just looking at Tao's Adventure. Basically, you just drag a circle over whoever it is that you would like to, command, and then you subsequently tap where you want the guy to go or who you want the guys to attack.
Actually, let's fill that in a little bit, because originally you start out with just one character.
Yeah, right. You start off as yourself.
And you can tap on him. You click on the screen where you want him to go. He'll move there, just like any other RTS. One thing I was doing automatically was continuing to tap where I wanted him to go, and he wouldn't move.
Right.
That's one of those after-the-fact taps, as I call them, to keep them going. But each time you move them, you actually have to tap on them. That's a little bit of a downer there, because in the heat of a battle, and some of these battles get really heated,
they do.
It'd be nice just to be able to tap and remember what guy you were moving last. Now, one of the first spells you learn is a spell where your character will actually drop a book. And when an enemy comes near this book, the book will actually open up and swallow the enemy into it, which then gives you the power to actually spawn and create more of these enemies. So you can actually create your own army. And you start out, I think the beginning was like 3 of these enemy characters. Now, what's cool about this is you can actually control them. You can actually tell them what to do. The first group of guys that you get are basically just your typical orc clones. You know, they've got little bats and branches, I guess, as a
grunts.
Weapon. Yeah, grunts. That's a good way to put it. You know, the goblins from like Archon. You know,
right?
With the clubs.
Yeah, right.
That's
exactly.
what I'm looking for. The clubs. So you just kind of set them loose on an enemy, and you can actually kind of use it as a time to get yourself oriented on how you're going to go through with the battle or to escape from the battle if you need to escape. You can actually throw these grunts into the thick of the battle to kind of hold the enemy back.
Yeah, they're fodder.
So you're actually turning them on themselves, so to speak.
Now, what's really cool about that is when they die, you lose them for that screen, but the next time you go into battle, you can respawn them.
Right, you gain the ability to bring them back to life.
Yeah, but you can only have them one time per battle, per scene.
Before you even get into a battle, you can customize what kind of army you want to set up. You have a whole separate subscreen where you can actually mix and match what enemies that you sucked in to create this army. Now, like I said, right off the bat, you're stuck with these grunts that just kind of walk up and start pounding on an enemy. But in a couple of the levels, that's all you need them to do because you have to make your escape. You're not the fastest guy on your feet, so sometimes you need them to gain that extra time to move or figure out what kind of spell you're going to cast next in the whole overall strategy of the level.
Yeah, and just to reiterate, this is all real time. I mean, it sounds like you're playing like Fire Emblem or Age of Empires or something like that, where you have time to sit there and think, okay, well, I'm going to cast this now. I'll send this guy over here to block that guy. No.
Meanwhile, let me go make a sandwich.
Yeah, let me make a sandwich while I'm waiting for that. No, that's not how this works. You got to think right now, right away. And spellcasting is all done in real time. So you could literally be getting your butt walloped while you're sitting there trying to remember your spell or trace it properly.
Right, that's the whole problem. You got to have you're under a time limit as it is. I think so far it seems to be less than 5 minutes to complete a stage. That
I think I've seen like 10 minutes, I think, on one of them.
Yeah,
but you're right, it's short.
Than me, unfortunately, but
you're right. Yeah, you have the time limit to worry about as well as all the creatures and your
accuracy of drawing the spells.
And here's something that's really cool about the whole drawing of spells thing is the more accurate you draw. You could, literally, if you have to make like a triangle and you're sloppy as hell, you'll still cast the spell, but it'll be like half as powerful.
It won't be as effective, right?
If you actually draw the rune right. So now you have another challenge. Do I draw it really fast and get the fireball out and only cause like half damage? Or do I take my time, trace the spell as neatly as possible, and then cast it? That's brilliant in my opinion.
I think it's really cool. And what's nice is when you do trace it accurately and at the best that it perceives it to be, it'll actually make a little note, a little sound. You'll hear a dingle effect that will actually clue you in that you actually got the right spell off and at its most efficient power.
Yeah.
And right off the bat, you're starting off with the fireball, and you're going to be casting that. You're going to learn that fireball spell easily, although it's really just a little simple arc. But you would be amazed at how hard that arc is to draw
when you're in the heat of battle. Oh, absolutely. Right. And also along with that is the fact that you don't have any melee skills. If you decide, you cannot enter battle without casting magic. You can't go hand to hand. And that's really important. So you have to use your grunts or your captured enemies as your manpower while you sit in the back and take care of spellcasting.
And what's nice is you can actually heal those guys too.
Yeah, you have your standard heal spells.
One of the spells you actually come across. I keep saying actually. I don't know why I'm stuck in there. It's still early.
Yeah, I hear you.
One of the spells you can learn at some point in the game is a healing spell. The healing spell you can either put on yourself or the grunts themselves. You can heal this spell, the grunts, and they can keep going in the battle. And the problem is you also have a magic meter at the top. So as you're using this magic, it's going down. The only way to replenish it is by, I don't know, does it actually replenish when you're standing still? I think it might.
When you're resting, it regenerates.
But there's actually something in there. Again, there's something in the air that regenerates your mana. It's like Diablo. You got your mana and you got your health bar at the top. So it kind of brings it up to speed. And sometimes in the heat of battle, you're just sitting there waiting for your magic to build up again so you can slaughter the bad guys and move on.
Yeah, there's a couple of different elements, and I think I'm just a little further ahead in the game than you are, and that's why I know this and you don't. Sure. He's right. There's something about the magical property. This goes back to a little Star Wars here for you. Everything around you generates mana, and the more robust your area is for mana, the faster you regenerate. Well, on the later levels,
too, right?
Yeah, on the later levels, there are these crystal structures inside the lands, and most of the time the monsters have taken them over and made them, negative magic or evil magic. Well, these crystals have a couple of different properties. One, they enhance the mana in the level. So if you have a lot of these captured for yourself, in other words, they're good crystals, then your mana will regenerate faster. And if you're in the proximity of the crystal, you and your grunts, if the grunts are next to it as well, will gain health. So it replenishes your health, it quickly replenishes your mana, and it also gives the entire playfield more mana regenerating capabilities. So the game, well, it starts off very simple at first, and you're going, oh, God, it's got to get better than this.
Yeah, you're kind of trudging along at first.
You trudge along at first, and you're going, this is not quite what I was hoping for. Because the videos that you see, because that's what I look for. I go up online, and I look at the videos, I read the reviews. I try to get an idea before I go in. And the videos are all very simplex. Here's your grunts, go kill those guys. Take your grunts back, go kill those guys. Get your grunts back, kill those guys, cast a couple spells, you're done. A lot more complicated than that. You got to throw the crystals in there, and the enemies will come take them back. They're very aggressive. So if you leave that crystal unattended with monsters around it, they'll come back and take the crystal back.
Yeah, I'm actually stuck at one of those levels right now.
Yeah,
I'm trying to control all the crystals. And I think there's like 5 crystals on the screen, and I only have about 5 minutes to gain control of all of them and stop the enemies. And then they got these little portals that the enemies will just keep coming out of. They keep respawning, kind of like generators from Gauntlet.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought of them, too. Yeah, and the only way that you can stop those things is to take one of your grunts and permanently put them on top of that seal.
There's a lot of strategy in this.
Yeah, there's a lot more strategy. I mean, if you've watched the videos, just to give you an example, I think Nintendo Power, not last issue, but the issue before maybe. I'm trying to remember. One of the recent Nintendo Powers has like a 7-page strategy guide.
Yeah, it's
on
the,
how to.
Is it the latest issue?
Is it the latest issue? Okay.
Yeah.
But it has a whole big strategy guide. I'm sitting there reading it and going, damn, this thing's got a lot more in it than I thought it did. And that's good, because when you're spending, $34 on a game, you want some meat. And this game's got the meat. And the good part about the whole text thing is as you move forward, the text seems to kind of dwindle down. Once the initial story is set, you get a couple of little, cutscenes with a little bit of text. And sometimes when you re-enter the battlefield, you'll have to read a little bit of text again. But for the most part, and where I'm at right now, you enter the battlefield and there is no text to read. You're in the thick right now. So it looks like that it kind of weans down a little bit. So for people who hate button mashing adventures like me, in other words, read, hit the B button, read, hit the B button, read, hit the B button. Oh, I get to do something now? For those people, the game gets a little bit better over time in that respect. And there are tons of spells. There are basically 4 elements of spells, fire, water, earth. I remember.
Yeah, because overall, I think there's about 18 different spells you can learn.
And then, as a bonus, apparently you can combine spells. So literally there are hundreds of spell combinations by the time you finish this game that you'll be able to cast.
Yeah, there's like, you can combine I think it's fire, water, wind, earth, dark, and light.
Yeah, I mean, there's tons of different possibilities.
Yeah, you can mix and match it. There's a lot of depth to it. And that's the thing with this game. Looking at the graphics aren't a lot to go on. They're pretty, actually, primitive.
Yeah, they really are.
To what you would think the DS would be capable of. There's some of the cutscene art. A lot of the characters involved. I think, from what I understand, they're actually done by a well-known Japanese animation studio, whatever. But when you get into the game field itself, the gameplay section, everything is just kind of tiny, and there's not much going on with it. The meat of this game is in the gameplay itself and the strategy involved. If you like real-time strategy, this is really the only thing I can think of other than the throwaway real-time strategy that was in Advance Wars, DS.
Yeah.
They kind of tried to do it a little bit there, but this seems a little more.
And the Shogun Empires, which was really horrible. Yeah, you're lucky you didn't play it.
If it's worth even mentioning that game, but
no, we got to mention it because when you say, well, this is the only real-time strategy game, it's like, well, what about?
No. I mean, in terms of, it's not a good game, but
yeah, it's not something I would recommend. But I mean, your RTSs are very limited on the DS.
Yeah,
and this is a prime example of how to make it work.
One thing I think is really cool is when you do have these grunts all set up, and even your own player, you can actually draw the little circle around them to move them around the screen.
Yeah.
So if you want to plant a bunch of guys and your guy in the corner of the screen, say I'm at the bottom left and I want to put my grunts to the top right, you can take the stylus, draw a little circle, not even draw it. It's more of like in Microsoft Paint or something. When you want to make an ovoid shape, you start at the top left corner and you drag it over to the bottom right, and it makes that circle around the troops.
Yeah.
And then it selects all three of them, or all four, or whatever, how many you have in your group, and you can tap them where you want them to go, and they'll go there. Some of the collision detection, I think that's the word everybody seems to use.
Yeah, pathfinding.
Yeah, pathfinding, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
It'll get snagged around trees once in a while, so you unfortunately do have to kind of keep an eye on it. But
yeah, this is not like 2006 pathfinding technology. It's more like 1997 pathfinding technology, and it's an annoyance.
Original Command and Conquer pathfinding.
Yeah, exactly. It's like original Command and Conquer, where it's like your guy probably shouldn't have gotten hung up on that, but you can nip over there, snag him, and correct him. And you're going to find that happens in Lost Magic as well. You'll also find that it's easier to do battles when you are in an open area versus where there's a lot of trees and stuff. Sure. A lot of times you could use that to your advantage in the old RTSs. It's like, the enemy got stuck on a tree, now I can just wail on him and never get hit. Actually, the enemies seem to have a better AI than your grunts do, because your grunts seem to get hung up where the enemies do not, which I thought was kind of interesting. Most enemies have their own paths anyway. They're not on a search and destroy path unless you get close to them.
Right.
But there's a whole ton of different strategies in there, and I will tell you, while we're talking about the looser points of the game, the pathfinding is one of them, and you'll find that's a minor annoyance from time to time, and it may even cost you a battle sometimes. The other annoyance is there's the resolution is low enough where when you've got yourself, 3 grunts, and 3 enemies all locked together in melee, and you need to heal one of them. Or yourself, yes. You trace your rune, your spell is, on the ready, and you're going, man, I'm not sure if I'm going to click the right guy. Now, the good news is you won't accidentally heal one of your enemies. That's the cool thing. They won't let you do that. But it's possible that you'll heal your grunt that's 99% health instead of the guy that's 2% health. You'll waste your spell, basically, instead of healing the right guy or yourself. And that's another one of those annoyances. You can look at it another way. It is an annoyance, and I want to be responsible and tell you that that's an annoyance. But that also lends a little bit of credence to strategy. In other words, you don't want to send, 3 grunts in. You don't want to keep your guys so balled together that you can't get to them. And if you think about it, let's say, this is kind of going segue here, but bear with me. If you were actually on a battlefield, and you were actually a wizard, let's just push the I believe button all the way down. And you needed line of sight to heal somebody, and your guys were locked in the thicket of battle, you're going to have trouble hitting the guy anyway. You're sitting in the back as the wizard, and you got 5 guys in melee with 5 other guys. It's going to be kind of hard for you to cast in that general direction anyway. So
right.
There's a little bit of realism in there, not to defend the game's weaknesses, but that's one way of looking at it. Those are the 2 things: the pathfinding and the grouping and the inability to select individuals are the things that it gets hit hardest on in the reviews. And while, yes, it is a minor annoyance, I've kind of gotten used to it in the game, and it doesn't bother me as much now. I've kind of got it figured out.
Yeah, I think that's one of the reasons why the characters are so small to begin with, just based on the fact that they can fit more on the smaller screen.
Yeah.
But, how cool would it have been if they somehow created some kind of zoom feature?
Yeah, that'd have been awesome. They could have done that without a problem.
Yeah,
but it's what it could have been. Yeah. And I'm sure that we're going to see more of this sort of thing coming because it's very popular. A lot of people like it. I think it's gotten some fairly decent reviews. The word of mouth is good. It
hasn't actually gotten the greatest reviews. It's gotten pretty much above average reviews.
Yeah.
I would say 6 and 7. Which isn't horrible, but It's not the 8 or 9 that see people want to see that says, oh, this is a fantastic game. Usually, a 6 or a 6 or 7 will kind of say it's kind of blah. But yeah, I don't know if you've had any experience with it, but this is also a Wi-Fi playable game.
Yeah, that's good to mention, and I think we probably should have played this more in terms of the Wi-Fi ability. The Wi-Fi allows you to do mano a mano battles with another person online. You get to use your own complement of bad guys that you've managed to harness, and yourself, of course. And you go onto this big battlefield, and just like you fight enemies, you can fight a human on the Wi-Fi network for free.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I haven't had a chance to play it, unfortunately.
I played it one time.
I've been focused so much on the single player because there's so much to do on the single player that I haven't even gotten on there to try it.
I did play one time, and I'll be honest with you, the game was over so fast because this guy was like level 40.
Yeah,
I mean, the
exactly.
game had come out that day, right? I'm playing it on the crapper. I came home, I bought the game, I came home, hopped on the crapper and started playing. And I said, okay, well, let's see what the Wi-Fi is like. I hopped on, I got right on, found a person right away, which was kind of a nice, refreshing surprise.
Not to mention, how cool is it that your Wi-Fi actually goes into the crapper?
It's great. My Wi-Fi hits every place in the house. In fact, I can sit in the car and hit my Wi-Fi, which is really cool. But, so I sat down and it's like, so-and-so has joined the battle, and it's like, oh crap, this guy's like level 40. He's got like 7 level 50 monsters or something with him. It's like, how the hell does that work out? The game came out like 5 hours ago.
And here you are stuck with your level 2 grunts.
I've got like a level 2 dude and like 2 grunts. It's like, oh, this is going to be brutal. And it was. I lost right away.
See, that's the whole problem. You play against some 50-year-old kid who probably came from school, and that was all he did all day.
Played exactly. So he's got level 40 dude. I'm
an
nothing.
adept master, much like his Yu-Gi-Oh collection.
Yeah, right. So anyway, so the online component does look like it's fairly decent. And again, we can talk about it more online for those of you, like on our forums or whatever. For those of you who might be interested in asking more specific questions about the Wi-Fi, it seemed to be pretty well laid out. Your standard Tetris style hookup. I want to play. I think there's region. You can play by region or worldwide. There's a couple of options. It's fairly sparse. Basically, you hop in and 2 minutes later you're in the middle of the battle. So it was pretty cool. Yeah, it was nice. It was pretty quick. There's a couple other neat little features about the game that I thought about while we were talking that I wanted to bring up. You can imbue your grunts or your captured enemies with magical items. I think it's kind of funny. You can't use the items yourself. Like early on in the game, you'll get like a ring +1 of health or something.
Right, yeah. And you can actually send the grunts to open a chest.
Right, that's what it was.
While you're working on an escape plan.
Yeah, and so they get this ring. Now, you can't wear the ring yourself, but you can equip your troop with the powers of this object. So the next time you go into battle, you actually get to choose your lineup, like Chris mentioned earlier. You can say, well, I want to take this grunt, I want to take this other guy, and you can make you have these little collections of monsters, and you can imbue these guys with like this ring. And now they all gain the benefit of having that ring. So there's, again, the best monsters for the battle. You're going to find that some areas, for example, one area, and I don't think you've gotten there yet if you're still playing the Magic Crystal one, but there's one area that you can't use a certain type of magic against these monsters because the monsters all live like in the ice, in the water, in the ice.
Okay.
So your water-based magic has like little to no effect on them. So you're forced to use your fire magic.
Which is kind of obvious if you play video games for time. Fire isn't going to help, a fire creature.
Right. I mean, that should make good sense.
If you're an ice creature, obviously the fire is the way to go. So.
Right.
Basic video gaming knowledge here.
That's right. That's all you need to play these games. But overall, I'm very impressed with the title. I wasn't sure how well they would pull off the RTS thing, and they did a very good job. Room for improvement? Absolutely. Lots of good quality game time. That's where it's at. How long did I play it before I finally had to shut it off and give myself time to do something else? I've probably put 6 to 10 hours into the game.
Nice. Since
I got it. And that's pretty good. I look at value, and if you've listened to Retro Gaming Radio, again, you've probably already heard this before, but My value comes from a very standard equation, and this is a way that you can gauge, what games you should buy. I'm helping you out here. I'm giving you the secret. If you go to a movie at the theater, it's $9 for a ticket, or actually it may even be higher than that, $8 to $9 depending on if it's a matinee or whatever. Let's say $9. So let's say that the movie runs long and it's a 2-hour movie. You're paying $4.50 an hour to be entertained. Well, how much game time will you get out of Lost Magic? Well, let's say that you only play it for the 10 hours, right? And you paid $34 for it. That's $3.40 an hour that you paid to play the game. So that is slightly under the value of going to see a movie, if that makes sense. I mean, it sounds kind of convoluted, but the movie rate is $4.50 an hour for entertainment. So if you're willing to pay for a movie for $4.50 an hour, you should be able to extend that to your video game purchases. Lost Magic has already given me, $3.40 an hour worth of gameplay. If I play it, for another 5 hours, I've basically made the equivalent cost of going to see a movie.
Not to mention, on a video game, you're actually an active participant. So.
That's right. And it's got some sort of a resale value, not like GameStop, of course, where, you're going to get like a third of what you paid for it. But you actually have something tangible. So you go see a movie's over, the most you got are some kernels stuck in your teeth from the popcorn, or, soda stuck to the bottom of your feet. Yeah. But in this case, you actually can go back and play the game. And with the Wi-Fi, who knows how much free time you're going to burn on that. If you look at Tetris, Mario Kart, I can't even begin to tell you how many hours I played Tetris. That's how many there are. There are too many to enumerate.
Unfathomable.
Inconceivable. Yes, you keep using that word. I do not think it means what you think it means.
We should wrap this up now. I mean, we don't want to get lambasted again for our long review.
Yeah, we don't want to get stretched over the rack.
This is one of these games that I feel isn't really mainstream either, so I think it's worth talking about, especially since it's gotten so many kind of above average reviews.
Yeah, and I definitely thought it was worthy more than the above average reviews. I thought in the scheme of things, if you're going to compare it to, World of Warcraft, come on.
No, it's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. But if you're going to compare it to, say, whatever else is on the DS, the Shogun real-time battles.
That's the thing.
And that's where we're comparing it at, folks. And I thought, I started off as a level stylus on this one when I first started playing it. But the more I got into it and the more strategy I found, and some of the mage battles that you have later on, because I'm actually battling this mage, and he is just literally laying waste to my ass. And I've come to get a better understanding of the deepness and the strategy of the game. So I teetered from level stylus to up stylus on this game. I was pleased with it. I didn't feel ripped off. It was a $34 title. I'm sure it's $29 everywhere else, but I shop at GameStop. Yeah. So what about you, Chris? Where you got the stylus?
I kind of came into this at first. I kind of felt middle stylus all the way level. And as I played it, and it also dawned on me that based on the fact that how many of these kind of games, like we've already said, do we have on the DS right now? This is easily one of the better ones. It's if you're looking for a portable real-time strategy or even an RPG fix, this is really one of the best ways to go.
Absolutely. Right now, at least,
Yeah.
This could change in the future, but yeah, I think they did a top-notch job. Don't let the simple graphics fool you. The gameplay is where it's at.
Exactly. The meat of the game, the gameplay, that's where it stands. There's a lot of value in here, and then you got the Wi-Fi element. It is actually a $29.99 game. I actually got it at GameStop for $29.99. So
oh, well, there you go. I buy stuff, in quantity there, so it's like, what was that? Was that 34 or 29? I don't remember.
I'm going to pull on you, but anyway, I do recommend the game. At first, like I said, I was a little unsure, as was Shane, but for something like this on the DS, it's really good, and it's worth picking up and checking out, especially if it comes down in price, which I'm sure eventually it will.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's certainly better than Tao's Adventure.
Oh my God! We're going to have to review that on a future episode because
I have to say I think probably this, Advance Wars, and Age of Empires are the three biggies in terms of RPG strategy, what have you.
Yeah.
Right now, and
I would concur with that.
This is actually really the first RPG that I would highly recommend. An RPG in that it's set in a fantasy world. It's one of those imports from Japan that has that style going for it.
Yeah.
That isn't apparent in, say, like Age of Empires. So, yeah, check it out.
Yeah, I think you'll enjoy it a lot. Well, let's move on to our Top Gun mini review. Top Gun was one of those games that, frankly, ever since I'd seen pictures of it and heard about it, I thought to myself, hey, this could be really cool. Because I hail from the old 8-bit, 16-bit days where they had what I call arcade flight simulators. There was always like Flight Sim that you basically had to have the keyboard overlay, 700 buttons to control. Your flaps had to be just right when you landed.
Throttle, everything.
Throttle.
500-page manual you had to refer to.
500.
Spiral bound, mind you.
Right, and you basically had to be a pilot to actually play Microsoft Flight Simulator.
Hi, Wild Bill Steely here, and I'm ready to teach you how to fly a Strike Eagle.
There you go. But they came out with a broad range of what I call the arcade flight sims, where it was more arcade than flight sim, but you had to do a couple of things. Maybe you had to pull your wheels up after you took off. Real simple stuff. Nothing complicated to get in the way of the action. And when I heard about this, it reminded me immediately of like F-15 Strike Eagle 2, which was one of these games where it had just a little bit of sim in it, but most of the time it was like, okay, you get off the aircraft carrier, the guy pops on the screen and says, okay, we need you to fly to waypoint A and take out this radar dish. So you boogie over to waypoint A, you take out the radar dish, like, great work. Now, head over to, Site B.
While you're up there.
while we got you up there. And I'm thinking to myself, I really enjoyed that stuff. I don't know, maybe it's just me, and maybe that's lame now, but I had a great time playing that stuff.
Yeah.
And then
I had a similar experience. I think my 3 big flight sim games, I never really got too hardcore in the Strike Eagle. I did have it, but it was just too overwhelming for my, 8, 9, 10-year-old brain to handle. So,
yeah, right.
10-year-old. So I was mostly stuck on, say, Gunship. That was a great one on the old Commodore. And
I thought Gunship was a little more flight simmy than F-15 Strike Eagle 2 wasn't it? It was pretty detailed.
Pretty detailed, I have to agree. But the fact that you were in a helicopter just really made it cool for me.
Made it rock.
Hover there and wail on the machine gun. The other 2 big ones were Electronic Arts, may they rest in peace, Sky Fox.
Yeah, good. Sky Fox is a good example. Yeah,
fantastic,
sure.
This is kind of what Top Gun is, more or less. And the next biggie that I can think of was A-10 Tank Killer.
I played that on the Amiga, yeah.
Amiga had a really nice version of it, too, yeah. But I had it on the IBM. But that was a nice little game. Amazing graphics at the time. That was kind of a mix between flight sim and arcade. That's what I'm kind of was hoping Top Gun would be. I mean, come on, it's the DS. You're not going to have a whole lot of controls here.
Yeah, you're not going to have like rolling fog banks and things like that. Let's be realistic here.
Yeah, we're not going to be dropping flares, and so forth to get rid of missiles. But.
Yeah, so when I saw the early Japanese video of it, it's like, this. I mean, I can't read what's going on, but it kind of sounds like that's what we're talking about here. And the early reviews of Top Gun were less than
stellar.
Stellar, yeah, that's a good word. They just, I swear, and I keep remembering the one that I read. I think it was in Nintendo Power, where the guy basically just took 3 paragraphs and demolished the game. And I kept thinking to myself, dude, did you even play the game? Especially now that I've actually got the game and played it, I'm like, this guy must have played free flight mode for 3 minutes and said it sucked. That's the only thing I could think of. And it just recently came out this last week. And Top Gun, of course, is based on very loosely based on, what was it, it's an 80s flick, right? Top Gun, or is that 90s?
It's 80s.
It's 80s, I thought so, yeah.
86, I think.
Yeah. And, Top Gun with Tom Cruise and Anthony, what's his name? Anthony Edwards, yeah. So, yeah, this is very loosely based on it. There's a little tiny bit of story going on behind it. You're Maverick, Goose is dead, and you got the Iceman as your wing guy. That's as far into Top Gun as it goes, folks. I mean, don't let the fact that maybe you didn't like the movie stop you from wanting to play the game.
They're just trying to take a name that everybody will recognize and plop it on a playing game, basically.
Yeah, that's exactly what they did. So don't let the Top Gun element fool you. You're not going to have to sit through video clips of Tom Cruise, jumping on a couch or not.
I gotta tell you right off the bat, I was sitting in bed last night, could not sleep. I played this game for at least an hour and a half. I don't know why. I was addicted, hooked into this game.
It hooks you in.
I'm a sucker for the shoot 'em up genre to begin with. The shmups. So it just going that one. Okay, one more time. I had to destroy a whole fleet of ships in the ocean, and then from there I had to destroy radar discs, a couple radar dishes that were surrounding this base. And only once did I destroy them that I could actually go in and destroy the base. Because every time I come near the base with the radar dishes present, I would be destroyed instantly.
Right.
So, I would just kind of fly in. It took me, I think, maybe about 10 times to get it right.
Yeah, that's about how many
Because I was trying all these different strategies on how to pull this mission off. And I knew how I wanted to do it. And finally, towards the end, sometimes I'd get cocky. I'd be full throttle throughout the whole level, just kind of do little sortie flybys.
Dude, that's just like me, man.
I was also half asleep, too. So, but, man, it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed the game. The graphics are actually not that bad.
They're fairly clean.
It's a very smooth game. The couple of the tutorial missions at the beginning are really pathetic, and I think that's what's really going to throw people off. If you just start, especially this guy who reviewed it, he probably played the tutorials and said this game sucks, but once you actually get into the full-fledged missions, that's when things really start to pick up and heat up, and it's really neat stuff. I actually was having a good time with it. I don't know what to tell you. It's very simplistic. You don't really have too much in the way of controls. You have your speed, your altimeter, and you have your machine gun, you have homing missiles, and you have guided missiles. The homing missiles, you can actually position your targeting crosshair over top an enemy plane, hold down the B button, and it'll start beep, 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 locking on. And once it locks on, it'll tell you. It'll say locked on, and you can let go of a missile, and it'll actually go and track the enemy down for a short time before it actually burns up. Really cool stuff. You can pick from 3 different planes at the moment. I've unlocked 3 planes. I think one almost looks like a Russian MiG, more or less.
In the training missions, you're right. The training missions do seem a little on the pathetic side, but they do ramp you up. It's important that you do the training missions because they give you the familiarity with the terrain. One of the things you'll find out when you play third person, because you can change the camera to 2 different modes. Third person, which shows you behind the plane like Afterburner, and you can actually go to a cockpit view where you're actually inside the plane.
A la Strike Eagle.
Yeah. And when you're inside the plane, you have a much better gauge of where the terrain is. When you're playing third person, I found playing third person, I kept running into stuff. I kept hitting the walls. I kept hitting the ground.
There was a lot of times I would hit something, I wouldn't even realize that I hit it because I didn't seem like I was really near the object. So I assumed my wing must have clipped it.
Right, exactly. And I think that one of the first training missions has you flying through a canyon, taking out, small objects, static objects that don't shoot back. And that gives you a feeler gauge. Okay, how close can I really get before I hit the wall? I tried playing in first person, and I didn't find it as enjoyable as playing third person for some reason. Don't know.
Yeah, I agree with you there. The third person was pretty much where I kind of settled into.
So you have to get your air legs, as it were, and find out how close to the terrain you can get, because later on, you need it, because you're going through canyons, you're going up the sides of cliffs. You have to get that feeling, and I think that's what the early training missions are there for, is to give you kind of just test the waters out. How fast can my plane go? How fast can I bank? And you can choose from different planes, as Chris mentioned. So different planes have different properties. One goes faster, but it's not as maneuverable.
One holds more armaments. You get more missiles with certain planes. Like one plane may have 35 missiles, whereas this other plane may have 45 or 50.
Right, exactly.
Little minor differences. I don't know if the damage has come into effect yet. You can take about maybe 3 or 4 hits before you're splashed down. It depends also what you're hit by. A missile will pretty much take you down to nothing, whereas a couple machine gun bullets will kind of take you down just a quarter of the way. One thing, real quick, just to bring up the view, I think, is seeing the plane from behind really gives you an idea of where you are also. It just makes things a little easier to tell where you are in the thick of the battle. If you have an enemy coming up in front of you, you can actually see him fly by your plane, to kind of judge your distance a little better.
Yeah,
I don't know.
absolutely.
It's not as technical as it sounds. It's just playing the game, controlling it and getting a sense of where your plane is in the game.
The nice thing, too, about the controls, while we're on the topic, you can change this. This was very nice of them. They didn't have to do this. I thought this was a great touch. For those of you who play old school, when you used to play like F-15 Strike Eagle 2 or whatever, when you banked yourself into a turn and you let go of the joystick, you continued to turn. It's not like auto-centering, I guess, is the best way I could put it. In other words, like if you play Afterburner and you push to the left and then you let go of the stick, the plane recenters itself. That's Afterburner style or arcade style controls. You can actually go into your options in Top Gun and change to flight sim controls, which means no longer will you auto-center. If you want to sit on a nice, 30-degree drift, that's almost impossible to do in the arcade controls because it's either full left or center, full right or center. But in the arcade controls, you can kind of, just tip your wings a little bit or do a certain, degree of a turn. And I'll tell you what, that's really good for accuracy. And if you're already used to playing that way, it's nice to be able to flip yourself into that game mode.
Yeah, it's a nice little addition that they threw in there. The best way to describe this game overall is Afterburner with waypoints.
Right. But I don't know. Afterburner's a little too arcadey.
Yeah, but at the same time, that's what I'm saying. You got waypoints. I mean, you factor in, okay, you got to blow these boats up. Okay, you go in and you skim. That's what I love. You fly off the aircraft carrier, and you're just right above ocean level.
I love that.
At full throttle, and here comes this boat coming at you. You just wail on the machine guns, and you fly right through it.
It's great stuff. I mean, the missions, I'll tell you, let's talk about the missions a little bit. The missions are actually very well done. Unlike, say, Blades of Thunder 2, where the missions were pretty non-existent. It's like, go here, go here, go here, you're done. This, I don't know why, but this seems to be a little more meaty.
Involving.
It's a little more involving, and you get into it.
Into what you're doing. For lack of better words, there seems to be more of a story going on here.
I don't even know if it's a story, but it's...
Story, but that's why I said it's a lack. I don't know how to describe it. Your missing objectives just feel more urgent.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, for example, on the level that I think I'm either on or just played, Chris is ahead of me on this one, but you have to go and knock out all the anti-aircraft guns around this base, you and your wingman, right. And then after you knock those down, then you can strafe the base and knock out all the buildings. Yeah. And then you think, oh, I'm done, cool. Then it's like, oh, well, while you're up there, we've spotted some incoming MiGs. You need to go take care of that. So you got to zoom over and catch the MiGs, and then once you're done with that, it's like, oh, we found another secret base over there. Can you go blow that up too? And you're going, damn, when's this mission going to end?
See, that's how I am. That's how I am on. Actually, I think that's the mission before where I am. I'm actually, I just finished it. I think last night. There's actually 4 oil fields. You have to, but they don't tell you that. At least I don't think it does. It just says blow up oil fields.
Right.
But what happens is once you get into the battle and you blow up the first one, it says, okay, you now only have 3 more to go. And I'm like, what?
What? 3 more? I just got the oil fields.
So meanwhile, here I am. I'm thinking, wow, I did it, and I have like no health. And now it's telling me, great, you're almost there. I'll forget, I'm dead.
That's awesome, dude.
Really, I was really impressed with this game overall, and I can't say I wholeheartedly recommend it, but it's certainly not the bomb that I think a lot of these reviews are coming off as saying. At first, I said to myself, wow, this game looks lousy. I mean, look at these reviews.
Exactly.
Played it, and if you're into shoot 'em ups and blowing things away, you're gonna really like this game. The graphics aren't too bad. I mean, the plane looks fantastic for what the DS is capable of.
And I mean, aside from like the canyons, the Gray Canyon was kind of
blocky, yeah.
Yeah, but when you actually got out into the desert and you're zooming around, crawling up the cliffs, it's like, nice. This is pretty clean. This is a no-brainer at $20. At $30, you gotta want it.
Pushing it, yeah.
Yeah, this is the sort of thing, for me, it's worth it because I am a complete slut for the arcade flight sim, and this is it. I mean, right now, this is pretty much it. I mean, Blades of Thunder was pretty decent. This is better. And I recommended Blades of Thunder, so I got to follow along with it. Now, this does offer 1 to 4 players, local area network play, not Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
But here's the good part. It does have single card play, and that's always a bonus. I always got to give extra marks for that. because, I mean, that's the way it should be. And what's really cool is I did a 2-player dogfight, and it was fun, but when it's you and another guy just chasing each other's tails, not as much fun. I guarantee you this game is going to kick major ass with 4 players shooting up each other at the same time.
Oh, a little more going on.
But yeah, I mean, it's not like, you're just exchanging lobs.
Game, though. I mean, it was really... The graphics are nice, but overall, there's really not a lot going on. You got a couple planes in the sky. It runs really smooth, too.
It's very silky.
Once in a while, you'll get into a minor dip where you get a little... Like, when you get real close to one of the big ships, and, you got a lot of things going on, there's a little bit of a slowdown, but you won't even really notice it. It'll be over with as soon as you blow up the ship anyway. So,
yeah. Overall, I mean, they did a really good job. I mean, you see a company like Mastiff. It's like, well, first of all, your logo sucks so bad, I don't think I should buy your game.
Right, but the reason why I can see it's so good is Taito is actually behind it. So we have another Taito game this week.
Mastiff's just the publisher.
Yes, Mastiff is not, as much as they'd like you to think, the brains behind the game.
This isn't Taito, now that I'm looking at it.
It isn't?
It's not, because I know which one you're talking about.
On it.
Taito is...
Because what was the Japanese one created by then?
I don't know, but I'm looking here and it says it's created by Interactive Vision Games.
Interesting.
So, and I think Mastiff's the publisher.
There is no Taito logo on the front, although maybe in Japan it's Taito.
Maybe, maybe. So, I mean, I've got the box right here. I'm looking at it. There is no mention of it at all. Paramount Games.
I think it's just for the longest time I was so centered on the Japanese box because
right.
On Japan for a couple months now at least, and we were always curious about how it was going to look. And I think I've seen the box so many times and saw the Taito logo on the front. They might be the distributors over there for it. But anyway, that's.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, if you're into the old school, arcade flight simulators, this is a no-brainer. There's only one on the DS right now, and this is pretty much it.
Don't expect anything deep, though. Obviously,
yeah, this is not.
You're going to have a big cardboard overlay for your DS.
No. This is not. This is not Microsoft Flight Sim. This isn't even F-15 Strike Eagle 2. In-game play, by the way, before we roll up the review real quick, the 2 screens, you play on the top screen. Your bottom screen is a map. It's got some touch elements to change your weapon. You don't change your weaponry. You change your view on the bottom. It's got a very nice map and radar to show you where things are at, which is cool.
Mission objective.
All that good stuff. Right. Exactly what you would expect it to be. It's not like you're going,
waypoints.
Man, you guys really screwed up in this game. You guys didn't make any good use of the second screen. It's one of those games where it's so transparent, you're just going, oh, they did a good job. Yeah. Again, the price tag may be a little stiff. That's my only complaint. $29.99. It would have probably been a little cooler at like $24.95. Or maybe $19.95.
$19.99 is the sweet spot for this game.
That would have been the sweet spot for the game. As a fan of the genre, I'm pleased to have picked it up. I'm going stylus up with it. There's simply no other game like it on the DS. It's very smooth. It doesn't piss me off. It's got good multiplayer. It's one of those games you might lower. If there was anything really wrong with it, I would probably lower the stylus to middle because of the price tag. But in this case, I can't find anything wrong with it. I'm going to have to go stylus up with it. What about yourself, Chris?
I'm going to give it a middle stylus.
Level stylus.
Level, as you call it, yes.
Yeah, I call it level, middle,
level,
whatever.
That's actually the better word for it. I'm just stuck on middle.
Yeah, it's okay. That's all right.
But I want to give it a level stylus because it's a good game. I wouldn't recommend it enough to run out and buy it. However, like Rush Out, it's a game you have to have right now.
Yeah.
If it was one of those games that once the summer comes along, you get that slow summer humdrum of games, and you happen to see it for $19.99, pick it up. I'm not gonna give it a stylus down because it's not a bad game, but I don't want to give it a stylus up because it's not one of those games that I feel is a must-have. I mean, it's a decent game, it really is. And if you have any kind of urgency to play like a flight sim, or if you're a fan of the genre in terms of shooting and and blowing things up, you're gonna like it. It's a good game. I don't want to run out and say go grab it now. I mean, it's a good game though.
Yeah, and this is one of those games that I think, and
it's average. It is average. It's an average game. It's not fantastic. It is good. Like I said, I was up playing it all night. So
yeah, when you're up playing a game all night, you got to give it a little bit of props.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, and again, I think what Chris is trying to allude to as well is there are so many other games out right now that demand your cash. that, if you got to go to the store and say, Lost Magic or Top Gun, what's it going to be? Obviously, it's Lost Magic. If you go to the store and it's Super Mario Brothers or Top Gun, dude, it's not even in the ballpark.
Right.
But this is one of those games. It's a good filler. Not a lot of stores carry it. They have very limited copies of it. I don't know what that means. I'm not saying this is going to be
by Mastiff.
It's by Mastiff. Okay. So is this game going to be around in 6 months? I don't know. Now, again, we had no idea that Phoenix Wright was going to go on the endangered species list.
What though? Because that's from Capcom.
Right.
Capcom's a huge publisher. I mean, they could have produced 50 gazillion copies if they wanted to.
Yeah.
So you can't even look at it like that.
Yeah, you can't.
It's ridiculous because Capcom. Who would have thought that would have gone out because of that fact? If anything,
exactly.
I think of more of this game not being around because it's Mastiff. And who is Mastiff?
Yeah, who's that? Who cares?
Other than like I said, they need to hire a new logo person.
Yeah, they need a new logo. So this may be one of those games that by the end of the summer it may not be around. So
it's a guilty pleasure, as you would put it.
It's a great guilty pleasure.
Yeah.
And so, keep an eye on it. Keep an eye on the bargain bin. Keep an eye on the used rack. Because when this guy comes back, it's going to be used for, $19.95. And that's going to be the sweet spot for the game. Just make sure you keep an eye out for it. Because, again, it's Mastiff and maybe they didn't have a huge run. I know that after the game was released, it took my GameStop like a week to get it. And
wow.
that's not a good sign to me. That means there's not a lot of copies kicking around there. And you don't want to go up on eBay and pay $50 for it later because you didn't pick it up when it was $19.95 in the bargain bin. So keep your eye out for it.
Blades of Thunder 2.
Yeah, it's better than Blades of Thunder 2, and I thought Blades of Thunder 2 was decent. So this is better. And, of course, Blade of Thunder is $19.99, and this is $29.99. So
I have a feeling it's $29.99 because of the name itself.
I'm sure that Paramount had a hand in.
First tacked on was because of the Paramount logo and the word Top Gun.
Which is really sucky. I hate that.
And Maverick. I mean, they should have called it something else.
Yeah, it pisses me off. Okay, well, moving right along, now that we managed to make the Top Gun review as long as the Lost Magic review, sometimes you have to explain things, folks, because you
gotta give props to games that are going to get lost under the radar too.
Well, I think the in this case, Lost Magic is one of those games that kind of stands on its own. There's lots of box art, there's lots of art, there's lots of videos running around,
definitely,
and you can easily go into a game and say it's cool, get it. But when you get a game that's okay, listen. If you're a real big fan, then you're going to want to pick it up, and here's some of the, extenuating circumstances. Sometimes it takes longer to explain a mediocre game, well, not mediocre, an average game, than it does an above-average game. So take that into consideration. Coming attractions, this is going to be a fairly light month, but the stuff that's coming out is absolute gold.
Oh, yeah.
Absolute gold. Do you want to take the first one? I know you're dying.
You know what? That's fine. I will take the first one. The first one, of course, is, and we're scant less than a week now at this point. Actually, it might be Monday. We might be seeing it. It is, of course, new Super Mario Brothers, which will premiere on May 15th.
Yeah,
I mean, anything else needs to be said.
Let me put in one. Yeah, exactly. If you do not know what this game is, here's what's funny. One of my coworkers had no clue that this was coming out, what it was, or anything. And when I told him, he's like, no way. I showed him some videos. He's like, no way. My kid's going to love this. My wife's even going to play this. And I'm like, dude, where have you been? This is like the most tooted game on the system, since Tetris. No, I think it's even higher tooted than Tetris. I mean, this is it. This is what everybody's been waiting for. I know people right now that have specifically not bought a DS, one, because they're waiting for the Lite, and two, because they're waiting for this game.
Well, this is a game that's been on the release list since the creation of the DS. I mean,
that's right.
It's been a long time coming, and it's a long time coming just for any kind of new Super Mario. I don't mean it like the title, but a Super Mario Brothers game. We haven't had one in a long time. And I don't count Nintendo 64 Super Mario because this is a totally different type of game.
Yeah, very exciting. I mean, we don't even have to drone on about it. There's so much video. There's so much press out there. Suffice to say, if you didn't know it was coming, educate yourself and get your ass down there and pre-order it. From what I understand, from talking to a couple of people, the game is like pre-ordering like mad. So anytime I hear about a game that there's a lot of pre-orders on, it leads me to believe, especially if you deal with like your local GameStop, and you don't have a real heavy DS traffic in there, they're going to get enough to fill the pre-orders. You will not be able to walk in and get one. Now, will Target have it? Will Fry's have it? Probably, maybe.
Word is that Circuit City is actually going to have it for something like $27.99.
Yeah, see, there you go. But I would definitely not. I would make it a point to take an early lunch or a late lunch that day or a long lunch, whatever you need to do. Probably go pick it up, because I have a feeling it's gonna sell really fast, and a lot of the specialty stores are gonna have pre-orders only, with another shipment in a few days or next week. And once you see this game, you're gonna have it.
Yeah, and we're gonna have a review of it next week. Cross our fingers.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna give you the full meal.
Next week or the next show. We may have
next
to make
show.
A special thing for Mario Brothers. We're not sure yet, but stay tuned. If
yeah.
anything, we'll be in the next show, so count on a review then.
Yeah, I'm thinking maybe we might have to cut an extra show just so that we can do like E3 wrap-up and Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah, you know, that might be a good one. Yeah, good.
We'll have to see what happens, folks. No promises on that.
Maybe a little hour. Well, I don't know. An hour, would that be enough? Probably not.
Probably not. No, there's way too much to talk about. Next up on the 16th comes X-Men, the official game. Movie tie-in games make the hair stand up on the back of my neck. And, you know, I've seen some pictures. I don't even think we've had any video of this yet, which always scares the living crap out of me. It's from Activision, which also scares me. I don't know. I didn't pre-order it. I'm going to wait and see. But
move.
The good news is, though, is you've seen shots from both the Game Boy Advance and the DS. And this time it is not a pure Game Boy Advance port to the DS. There's actually, you know, play to the strengths of the DS. So
what's actually sad, though, is that the Game Boy Advance version looks nicer at this point.
Yeah, that's really sad. But you know, you can't trust screenshots with the DS. We've mentioned that before. You got to see stuff in motion on the DS before you can actually.
Unless it's Marvel Rise of the Imperfects.
Oh my God, let's just not even go there. That's horrible. Damn EA.
Okay, next game on the list we have is Sudoku Mania, coming May 30th. Not really sure what's going on with this. I haven't really seen any information about it. If it pulls off what Brain Age's Sudoku has done, then I might have to be there for it.
Yeah, you know, the whole Sudoku thing just drives me crazy because it's a real popular fad, and yet I find myself continuing to play it in Brain Age. And yeah. I'm like, I've gone through all the first page of basic puzzles. I'm on the second page of basic puzzles. I'm halfway through with it. They're starting to get hard. I mean, it's taking me 22 minutes to pull one of these things off now. And I'll tell you, I'm down for a dedicated Sudoku game. I mean, if this is it. There's also going to be a official Nintendo one coming too.
Gridmaster, which is coming, I believe, at the end of June. That's the one I think I'm going to be waiting for, because if it's just a continuation of what we saw in Brain Age and the wonderful way they had that set up, I thought the intuitiveness of that was just amazing.
Yeah, so, the UI is absolutely the best I've seen in any Sudoku
going to
game.
Have 400 puzzles.
Yeah, that'll keep you busy for a while. Again, that goes down to value, folks. You know, like Brain Age, it's like, oh, you know, $20 is too much for Brain Age. What are you talking about? I've played I don't know how many puzzles I played. 40 puzzles of Sudoku in that game, even at 10 minutes apiece. Come on, do the math. You know, that's 400 minutes. Do the math out to 40. It's a long time. So I'm definitely down if there's a really good quality one. But this is not one I'm going to rush out and buy, folks. I'm going to wait.
Especially since we haven't seen any screenshots, and it's almost half. I mean, we're a quarter way through the month now.
Yeah. It's, I don't know. I get
really leery.
Anytime that there's like a media blackout on a game, it just makes the lump in the back of my throat grow. What's that? Burnout Legends?
Top Spin
2. Yeah. Yeah, see, that's very smart. Burnout Legends now gets a buy because Top Spin 2
exists.
It now exists and has taken the place of the never showed you a video until it shipped and took your money game. Right. Also out on June 1st is Scourge Hive. And do you know anything about this game?
Absolutely zero.
Okay, good, because I know absolutely nothing.
It's another game that I haven't seen head or hair of a screenshot for.
I've seen a box art, and I think maybe I've read a preview, but it wasn't memorable enough for me to recall it. So
I have no idea what it's about. We'll have to wait and see. I believe it is a 2D game, though. And
that's
I
always
do believe, if I'm not mistaken, that there is actually going to be a version for the Game Boy Advance.
Uh-oh.
But
time to run.
I believe there are going to be two different games.
I hope so.
it's going to be the same game, but they're going to be using the DS's strengths, you know? Kind of what it sounds like they did with Star Wars Episode 3 by adding the 3D space.
Oh, well, see, I bought into that one, so maybe this will be
We'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens.
Hey, you know, speaking of that, how would you compare the Top Gun battle to the Star Wars battles? You know, in multiplayer.
You know, they're real similar.
Yeah.
Except for the fact that, you know, in the Star Wars 3D multiplayer battle, you actually picked up new weapons and new shields from, like,
nice
floating while you're floating around. In Top Gun, you kind of have your onboard complement, and
stuck with what you have.
You're stuck with what you have.
Power-ups or health meters or anything.
Yeah, pretty much. So, yeah, I mean, they're very similar in design. They're very silky smooth. I think, though, could you play 8 players, or is it just 4 in Star Wars? It's been so long. I think it was only 4, too.
Yeah, I think it's 4. I mean, it's Electronic Arts. They ain't go all out.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay, what's out now? Over the Hedge, which actually, by the time you hear this, will be out, but we haven't gotten our paws on it yet. No pun intended. Over the Hedge is supposed to be a movie tie-in, which immediately makes me suspect. It's from... Yeah. Is it from Vivendi? Is that who's putting that one out?
Actually, I actually thought it was No, it's Vicarious Visions.
There you go, Vicarious Vision. I knew there was a V in there somewhere.
The Tony Hawk game, and actually they seem to be one of the only few American publishers that are really putting an all-out push into the DS to pull off a lot of the cool stuff that we're seeing. So I have a lot of faith in this. I saw some of the screenshots, and supposedly what it's sounding like to be is a mix of Metal Gear and what was the other game? Metal Gear, and it's funny, it's Metal Gear, and I'm thinking Over the Hedge. Maybe that's the only game I'm thinking of. But it's a lot of sneaking around, but you have a 3D view at the top, and at the bottom you have an overall map of the area. So you remember, I don't know if you've ever played the original Metal Gear. I'm not sure if you have. But
I don't remember. I think I got into that a little late.
Well, in the original PlayStation and Metal Gear, you had a little map box up in the corner that you could see what's going on around the edges, and it would show little dots indicating which way the enemies are facing. It would actually show a little a fan of light, you know, coming out of where they would be looking, so you can get an idea of their view, you know, of their angle, where they were looking. You'd be able to see if that you would be in their line of sight.
Yeah.
So, you know, and they would show the little indicator showing where them walking around and where you were on the map. Because on the bottom, on the screen itself, it was all 3D. So you'd be hiding behind a wall. You'd be relying on that map to kind of indicate where you should go and when you should make a run for it. And that's what this is reminding me of the screenshots. Because you have the top screen, which is the 3D view, if I'm not mistaken. And the bottom screen is your map showing you where all your enemies are. I think there's like a dog or something, you know, that belongs.
Right. Yeah.
You know, and it's indicated, and it's showing the characters kind of sneaking around. And you know, I did read one of the guys who was all part of the game. Take this with a grain of salt. Was saying that it's actually not a bad game, believe it or not.
Yeah,
it's actually turning out pretty decent.
The early reviews are all saying it's good stuff, and I'm going,
3D
man,
solid and everything. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, could this be possible?
Another Narnia.
Yeah. You know, hey, I'm totally down with that.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I'm optimistic.
Next game we have out this week, well, actually it came out last week, but we thought we covered since we weren't on next week, was Guilty Gear Dust Strikers. I haven't really had too much time with it. I got a chance to play it, and I'm just not a big fighting fan. I really can't give you my honest opinion on it because the only fighting games I've really cared for were the Soul Calibur games. And you know, even the old Street Fighters, I was never a huge fan. I love the artwork and everything. I was kind of a glutton for the art, but I played the original Guilty Gears on the PlayStation. The fact remains that it's boring if you're playing one person. I just cannot get into it. I don't know anybody else that's into fighting games. I have nobody to play against in that respect. So
I think I've gotten more time to look at the game than Chris did, and I am not a fan of what I call hiccuping fighting games. There's so many of them. Every time you strike them, there's a pause. It's a Japanese fighting thing. Every Japanese fighter that I've seen, it's really like SNK, all the Neo Geo fighters are like this. When you hit somebody, there's a pause. Yeah. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
There's like a slight 1 second delay just before the character you're hitting will actually react or something like that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. And that makes me mental. I cannot play a fighting game where I'm a Mortal Kombat guy, okay? I'm going to be straight up. I was never a Street Fighter guy. I've always been a Mortal Kombat guy. And the fluid striking, the no downtime, the no hesitation, the frantic gameplay. Well, Soul Calibur's like that too, I think.
Yeah.
And so I was a slut for that on the Dreamcast. So it's not for me. But I did get a chance to look at some of the mini games. There are 4 or 6 mini games that come with it. And I kind of had a good time with a couple of them. I have to admit.
The best one was the pool table one.
The pool. Oh yeah. Did you play the dolphin one? I'm sorry. I like the dolphin one.
The dolphin one. You know what? I played it, but now I can't even remember the specifics of it. It was that boring.
Yeah. Well, you get like different size.
You have to position a loop or something.
Yeah, you position these hoops for the dolphins to jump through, but you can light them on fire. That's kind of cool. I mean, I'm sitting here, and you have different sizes of hoops. They're worth more if you get a smaller one.
Bottom line is, these aren't Super Mario.
These are not like AAA quality things. But it was nice of them to throw them in. They have absolutely nothing to do with the game that I can tell. Well, again, hard to say. Neither one of us are going to be a good review for this. If you need to go and find some, Japanese fighter boards to, get a better opinion on, maybe people love that. I don't know.
Yeah, well, based on the fact that I'm not a big Fire fan, I did play it, and looking at it from the graphics standpoint, it's got that cool, like, real smooth animation that Guilty Gear series is known for. It spans over both screens. You got, I think, 4 players duking it out at once, so that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
There's some neat little elements going on. I thought the graphics were actually pretty disappointing, other than the actual character sprites.
Yeah, they are pretty. The
backgrounds are. I mean, this could have been done on the GBA. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it could have been.
It's a GBA game all the way through.
Yeah, I'm kind of disappointed.
Yeah.
Go ahead and give them the FIFA update there, too. That's also out now.
Yeah, I was toying around a little bit with World Cup 2006. It's I don't know. If you already have FIFA 2006, you're not going to need this. It's like I thought. It's basically they tweaked a couple little things, but it's more or less the same engine, the same graphics. You've got some new things going on, like the crowd's going crazy now because it's the World Cup. Little things like that. You got confetti all over the place. Okay, whoopee. Some of the touchscreen graphics were tweaked up a little bit. I don't really see any big differences. It's certainly not worth rebuying the game over. Me, myself, I'm going to wait for 2007 and hope once again that they add Wi-Fi, but it's Electronic Arts, so I'm not counting on it because, God forbid they actually put a little effort into making, the game better other than just tweaking the graphics here and there. It's World Cup 06. It's some extra, maybe some roster updates, but I don't see the real draw to running out and buying it again. I mean, the original FIFA 06 came out in October. I would say wait till the end of the year when 06 or 07 rather, is going to probably show its head. The 07 stuff will be out pretty much right after the summer's over with. Okay, well, moving on to the touch and go segment this month, we have quite a bit of news to get to. Big time things going on, especially with the E3 coming around the corner here, starting tomorrow. And we'll fill you in with some information we have according to that because we just got done watching the Nintendo conference. Isn't that right?
Yeah, we watched the Nintendo Media Conference just an hour ago or so, and we got all the juicy tidbits for you on what's coming on the DS.
Hot breaking news.
Oh, yeah, you're going to love it. Hopefully we get this out. If we get this show out tonight, we'll actually be riding the E3 wave.
Nice.
So that'll be perfect.
Well, the first big news story is it's been officially confirmed now the other day. The Nintendo DS Lite is coming to America on June 11th. It will be only available in polar white, and it'll be a $129.99 retail. GameStop and EB Games are now taking pre-orders, so you might want to run down there and put some money on it. I kind of got ripped off because mine took $50 from me, and they claimed that $50 is always what they took. It sounds like the word is that it's $25. Whatever. This is less I'm going to have to pay when I pick it up. And the Australian release date is set for June 1st, so they're actually going to get 10 days earlier than us. Now, I don't know what the price was for that. I don't know if it's been released yet, but Australia is actually getting the one up on, I guess, the rest of Europe.
Wow.
So,
and the European release date we got that we've heard is the 23rd of June.
Weird.
Yeah, that was the latest news I just saw, that the rumor mill was that they get it on the 23rd. So
just in time to play some WarioWare Twisted.
There you go. Yeah. Nice. Yeah, that boy, I'll tell you what, on the light, that cart just sticks out like mad, dude. You could land a plane on the backside of that cart sticking out of the light. So
it's like a big plastic hemorrhoid just kind of shoving out its
yeah, plastic hemorrhoid.
Barrett.
Ew. Oh, man.
Well, how about if we just break into the hot E3 news here? Well, that way we can ride the wave, as you said.
You're going to ride the E3 wave.
E3's official date is tomorrow, when they're going to open up the showroom and show off all the new games and all the hot titles. But Nintendo just had their conference today, and showed off their new system, the Wii.
The Wii,
which really they didn't tell us a whole lot new, in my opinion. It was mostly just a rehash. Yeah, a rehash of everything that we've heard. Actually, we heard at the end of last year when they actually announced the Revolution.
Right. I mean, we get to see games. So I guess that's probably
that was the big thing.
The big thing for the show. So.
But I don't know what the big secret is for it. We certainly didn't see anything new other than the fact that there's a speaker now on the controller.
Yep. So you'll actually in Rumble. I don't think we had that confirmed before.
Yeah. And that both parts of the controller actually have a gyro sensing, whatever you want to call it, thingamabob.
Thingamabobber, yeah. So the nunchuck and the actual controller itself are both motion sensitive, which really means we could have mocap boxing.
Yeah, hey, that'd be cool.
That would be so cool, dude. That alone would make it worth having a Wii, just to have
Punch-Out
mocap or punch
out. How awesome!
That would truly be awesome. If you want to win me over to the Wii, give me Punch-Out. That would be awesome. Anyway, since this is a DS show and not a Wii Revolution show, we got a ton of titles that actually we got to see bits and pieces of graphics and whatnot. What do you want to start with, man? I mean...
Well, I'll just roll it out with the way I have it here.
Okay, run it out.
It's not the big one of the show, but the first one I have listed is Mario and Donkey Kong 2, which is a sequel to the Game Boy Advance title that we saw a couple years ago, which was, in fact, a sequel to the original Donkey Kong that was on the old Game Boy. It looks like it's more of the same kind of gameplay, only you're going to have it spanning over two screens. We didn't really see much footage today about what the second screen is going to be really doing for you. I mean, it almost looked like a map, but it was just on the screen too short of time to really make any attempt to try to figure out what's going on with it. One of the big things is the game Owenden, which everybody has been hoping to get some kind of a U.S. release date or somehow get translated for U.S. release. I mean, it's actually the number one game on DSR's top 25 list right now. It's a game that a lot of people, I think, kind of overlooked. And it looks like Nintendo is going to be bringing it out to America as Elite Beat Agents.
Yes.
And I was reading earlier that they're actually going to take the music and everything, new stories. You're going to be getting Americanized music. What that will inquire, I do not know. I just hope it's not Kelly Clarkson, Ludacris.
Oh, no. Give me a break. American Idol Elite Beat Agent. Maybe have expansion packs, though. See, that'd be all right. If they could do that, I don't care what it ships with, as long as I can get something other than Kelly Clarkson.
Right, but if you're at all interested in this game and you haven't imported, I guess you'll get your chance to play it. I would recommend checking out the import while you can, though, because I also read that the titles of it was only released in so many numbers, and it looks like those amount of stocks that they've had in the background for the game in Japan is pretty much running low. So you might want to jump on that if you want to get the Japanese one. The Japanese one has some great music.
Yeah, it's got some really good music in it.
Yeah.
God only knows what they'll do to it when it gets here. It could be bad.
One big one that everybody's going to be excited to hear about is Star Fox is officially coming.
Star Fox, yes. I mean, didn't we see somebody in the forum that said they would actually buy a DS on the spot if it had Star Fox?
Yes, I believe so. It's got a really big cult following. I know a lot of people are really excited about this. They even had the logo, Star Fox DS.
Yeah.
So it is coming, and early information says it's going to have 1 to 8 local Wi-Fi player download play, and 1 to 4 player Wi-Fi Nintendo connection. So imagine 4 players dogfighting on Star Fox, and man, the drool factor is overloading.
Yeah, Wi-Fi nonetheless. I mean, that's just going to be it.
I'm really excited to see what's going to happen with that. Another big one that a lot of people, we haven't seen this game for a long time now. Nintendo 64 is the last time we've seen it, was Diddy Kong Racing. I know somebody in particular, our buddy Gary out there. He's going to really be wanting to jump on the DS bandwagon now that his favorite all-time racer, Diddy Kong Racing, is heading to the DS. I don't have a whole lot of information, but they did show some video, and it looks like it's pretty much set up the way Mario Kart is set up, where you have the the map at the bottom and the gameplay field at the top. So that's good stuff. We'll see what happens there. Yoshi Island 2, an official sequel to the first Yoshi Island on the Super Nintendo, looks to be coming to the DS. It doesn't look to be anything like Yoshi Touch and Go. This looks like a full-fledged platformer. Everything's going over both screens. So the whole playfield is 2 screens now, kind of like Touch and Go, except it's a platformer. And, of course, we got the Zelda Phantom Hourglass. That's going to be shown sometime during the course of E3, and reportedly it's going to have 4 different levels that everybody's going to be able to play. So we'll have some new information, hopefully, concerning that. But, man, lots of good stuff coming out. Needless to say, I was more impressed with the unstoppable beast that is the Nintendo DS than what the Wii had to offer so far. But it's still early. Some of the stuff they'll be showing at the E3 show will probably just overload everything.
Yeah. Well, I figure, too, the whole thing with the Wii is that it's not something that you can see or hear about. It's something you have to do,
Experience, right.
Experience it. I mean, you can't. I mean, they were talking about, just to get a little segued over, when you're playing the new Zelda, when you're pulling back the bow, when you actually shoot the bow, you'll actually hear the tightening of the strings and you'll hear the thunk of the arrow leaving your virtual bow traveling to the TV set.
Yeah, the sound's going to cross over. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry, that sounds like totally leaked, but hey, that's the Wii stuff. We're not talking about the Wii stuff.
Unless it has to correspond with the fact that the DS can connect to it, which hopefully we'll find out some more information about that too.
Yeah, we didn't hear anything about that. I thought
I'm shocked
that might
about
have been
that.
it.
I actually, when I saw the Nintendo DS pop up during that whole presentation, I thought they were going to start talking about connectivity with it, but it never happened.
They didn't. It was really weird.
So, well, anyway, we'll see what happens. Well, more information probably by this time next week, if anything. I mean, depending on when we do our next show, but either way, the next show will have even more. I mean, we're probably just going to be so stressed for time with that show because of all the information.
There's so much information.
So, if you want to do the next segment, I mean, if you want to, I figure we could talk about what we were mentioning earlier in the editorial.
Oh, did you mention Mario Hoops?
Oh, yeah. That 3-on-3.
That looks awesome.
Yeah, remember we heard about that like a long time ago, and it kind of disappeared. And man, that's looking fantastic.
Yeah, I can't
really
wait. I mean,
that.
I'm totally down for a basketball game. If it's 3-on-3, oh, that'll be sweet, dude. That'll be a good throwdown game.
And that's going to be on Wi-Fi because
it's going to be on Wi-Fi.
I think at this point, all first-party Nintendo games are probably going to have some kind of Wi-Fi play.
That's great. That's absolutely great. And they showed Final Fantasy III also.
Yeah, that was the other one.
Thing
I almost forgot that. That actually looks pretty impressive.
It looks very sweet. I got to say, I'm not a big Final Fantasy fan.
Me either.
But that looks pretty sweet. And they said, and this is the thing that's nice and startling to me, is before the end of 2006, they have over 100 DS games slated for release.
Amazing.
Before the end of the year.
This is going to be a huge year.
Like you said, man, you can't stop the beast.
Yeah, by Christmas time, I assume all these games are going to be out by Christmas. It's just going to be overwhelming. I mean, I don't know. I didn't get a chance to see the Sony conference, but I don't know what they have lined up for the PSP. But
no, I don't know either.
This is almost like putting that final nail in the coffin, in my opinion. I mean, this is overwhelming.
Yeah, I can't wait to see the Sony conference just to see.
It's Star Fox alone. It's just going to push everybody over.
That's awesome. It's way cool. Good stuff at E3 on the DS that we know so far. That was just from the media conference. More, like Chris said, on the next show. We talked a little bit earlier on the whole homebrew thing, that there was a, shall we say, legally gray device that would allow you to do homebrew. Well, everyone's heard of Action Replay, Daytel, and AKA the Code Junkies, and they have created something called the Media Max. Is it called Media Max Player?
Max Media Launcher.
Max Media Launcher. There we go. And this device promises to allow you to run unsigned code or homebrew code off of any GBA flash device, like a GBA flash card, super card, M3 card. Those who know what I'm talking about know what I'm talking about. Anyway, so this device for $20 promises to, well, inherently bypass the DS's copy protection that would allow that code to run on the GBA side. And again, I've written to them twice, just so you guys know. We're doing our job over here. I've written to them twice to get more details to find out how they're getting around the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, how they're getting around that, and exactly, because those of you who know something about the DS hardware know that the original DS hardware and the DS Lite and later DS original hardware have some interesting nuances when it comes to running DS Homebrew. So I want to know how they got around that. I wanted to know if they're actually shipping, because tons of people have said that they've ordered this thing and they've been charged, but no product is shipped, and they're told it's on hiatus or on delay, whatever. Yeah, right. So I'm telling you right now, I wouldn't go and pre-order this thing. There have been a couple of reviews that have kicked around, but I think they're shill reviews that say how great it is and how it works exactly as promised. I'd hold out until we get our hands on one, or you find a reputable source.
Because if these things aren't even shipped yet, I mean, what kind of reviews are you hearing? You're probably hearing reviews from people who managed to get one, from the company direct, to kind of put some plants out there in terms of, if it's any good, and then sell everybody on it. And now they're taking people's money, but they're not getting anything out of it. Yeah. And the thing that would scare me the most is that I guarantee you Nintendo is not going to let this thing drop. I mean, if you remember, and I've said it before, the Galoob lawsuit in the 80s over the Game Genie. Remember when that came out?
Right.
And Nintendo sued the crap out of them because they were altering. The Game Genie inherently allows you to, alter the game itself, like give Mario 99 lives, which nowadays it seems like nothing, But at the time, that is what started the whole thing. I mean, if it wasn't for that lawsuit, we probably would have never even seen this company even existing today, because Nintendo basically lost the lawsuit. So, but then again, this thing here is a little more ridiculous in that, you're actually bypassing the security measure on the device. So I can't really see Nintendo handling it. And if this place takes your money and then you don't get anything out of it, Nintendo sues the pants off them, and then they're barred from selling the thing, what are they going to do with your money? They're probably going to keep it and put it towards their, lawyer expenses.
Yeah. So that's $20 you're never going to see again. So I would hold out. I mean, it sounds
risky.
Great. And it sounds like a solution, but
especially for the DS Lite,
especially for the Lite. But I'd just hold off, folks. That's we'll give you a link. You can go check out the product, but I'd definitely keep your wallet close to your pocket. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. All right. Well, moving on. I made this post earlier in our forums, and this is what happens if you people out there want to get the latest, information or latest whatever. Here are the latest things going on in DS. I would definitely check out the forum. Because this is going to be a little bit of a delay, but Amazon is clearing out their old Nintendo Nintendo DS stock to make way for the DS Lite. Right now you can get the Electric Blue DS with the Animal Crossing bundle for $99.99. It looks like it is officially sold out right now, unfortunately, but I would keep checking the link. We'll have the link on the website. I know at least a couple people. I know one of them, he didn't even have a DS at all, and he's all excited. Fat Harry, Pirate. He's all beside himself because he was able to jump on and get a DS for such a good deal. So you might want to check it out.
Did you say it was sold out last time you looked?
Exactly. That's what I was saying. I think it sold out this morning or last night, one of them. But at the time I posted it, it seemed like there was enough of them in stock. But you never know. I mean, they could come back. I mean, I always see these bundles laying all over the place, so it's not like they're in short supply.
Yeah.
I'm sure they'll get some more in any case, because I think they sell them through Toys R Us anyway.
Yeah. So definitely that's another good plug. You're going to get the most updated information on the forums and on the website and in our news feed. So.
Yeah, I mean, definitely keep an eye out, because if I see a good deal, I usually tend to try to post it, and I figured maybe I'd try at least once a week on the show to try to give a good deal that I see. It sounds like, I think I already mentioned it in the show earlier, but word has it that New Super Mario Bros. Is going to be around $27, $28 next week at Circuit City, so you might want to check that out, because
I believe GameStop and EB Games have it for $34.99. So
there you go.
It's a pretty decent deal, and every buck counts. Considering what's coming out for the DS, you can put that towards a new game.
Yeah, there's so many games out now. Start pigeonholing your cash now.
Yeah, good way to put it. Some other news coming up. We have Majesco, our friends at Majesco, that are really starting to impress me a little bit here. You know, with some of these games they've been coming out with lately. They're now coming out with the Japanese import Cooking Mama, which we might have mentioned, I think, on episode 3 or so.
Yeah.
It's a cooking game. It's a very cartoony cooking game where you actually use the stylus to cook food. You know, slice things like apples or fruit, and then you can pat down, quote unquote, pound the meat. You know.
yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, I want to play
but
that now.
Yeah. They're translating that, and it looks like it's on its way. I don't think it really scored that big over in Japan. It doesn't look like it sold very well, but it certainly looks like an interesting little fringe game. And it's really cool that we're going to be able to see this at all appearing over here stateside. So if anybody's interested in any of these little fringe games, weird games that are kind of out of the ordinary, I would definitely check that out just to kind of say, hey, thanks, we appreciate that, and maybe we can get some more of these cool games over here.
Yeah, good for Majesco, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's great. I mean, they're not
them.
a big company, so they probably got the license cheap. They figure, well, we'll bring it over. So.
Yeah, they're one of those companies that used to make console games until console games started costing $15 million a head. And
right.
One failure bankrupts the company, so now they're moving on to handhelds. And I think they're doing a pretty decent job. So good for them.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens there. Next in the news, we have, this is a little late itself. This is something I think that started either at the beginning of, the end of last week, the very beginning of this week, is for a limited time, Nintendo is going to be giving away a free Rumble Pack with the purchase of Metroid Prime Hunters. So far, we haven't seen very much evidence of this actually happening, but if you do check this week's Circuit City Circular, you'll see that they plainly cite the deal as happening.
Yeah,
so
it looks like this is a department store type deal. The specialty chain stores, I called my folks over at GameStop, they have no clue what the hell we're talking about. So I'm assuming that the Best Buys, the Circuit Cities, the CompUSAs, I think those sort of department type retailers are going to be the ones that have this.
Yeah.
So if you don't already have one from Metroid Pinball, shame on you for not having Metroid Pinball. But if you don't already have one, this is a great way to get one. Save yourself a sawbuck,
Yeah, right off the bat, it looks like it is available at Circuit City. It's in the ad. The packaging is very similar to the 3-pack of stylus that Nintendo put out. It's just the Rumble Pack cartridge on a little bubble pack. So, check it out. It's worth picking up if you had any interest in Metroid Prime Hunters. You might want to do it now and, like saying, save some cash there, because I think it sells $10 separately.
Yep, $10.
And although if you just pick up, like as we said already, Metroid Prime Pinball, which is one of the best games on the system, you will get it for free. So
yeah, there you have it.
You don't even have to be a Metroid fan for that. It's just a great
It's
game
a good
of
pinball.
Fantastic pinball. Best pinball I've played since Devil's Crush on the TurboGrafx, in my opinion.
There you go.
For video pinball. And I guess we have rounded this up a little bit. We have one of the final pieces of news here. Nintendo is keeping the spirit of the late celebrity painter Bob Ross alive.
Yeah, let's just paint a little tree down there.
We'll
make a happy little bush. Yeah, that's the guy. The guy that talks real slow and real happy. We're going to make ourselves just a happy little forest right here.
There's a happy puffy cloud in the
There's a happy puffy cloud. And some mountains. There you go.
You don't want any rain today, so he's going to be white.
That's the guy, and it's fun to make fun of him. But hey, man, that guy made a lot of bread doing that.
The only white guy I knew as a kid who actually sported an afro.
Right,
white guy as a kid. Yeah.
That's true.
Anyway, he was well known for his instructional painting program via the PBS during the 80s called The Joy of Painting.
That's right.
Well, guess what? He's coming to your DS and other consoles.
Coming to your DS now.
Very soon.
And we're going to paint with that happy little stylus.
Just dab your stylus there real light.
There you go. That's good. That's nice and soft there.
Now, breaking away from the tutorial, we will guide you hand and foot into the coloring book.
So that's coming for both the DS and for the Wii.
DS.
So this could be a cool thing. I mean, it's Bob Ross, so how cool can it really be, right? But no, seriously, I mean, how many times have we seen really good paint programs, right?
You're right.
And, this just happens to be, a franchisable.
Yeah, this isn't Adobe's Bob Ross painting. Yeah, okay, so don't get your hopes up.
So that's pretty funny. That's one of those things where if the price is right, if it's like a $19 title and they let you do a lot of stuff, and I don't know. I think it'd be kind of fun to be able to, like Chris was saying earlier, with these kind of paint programs, especially with like the Wii, that's supposed to be like the ultimate online all the time console, where you could actually.
It's aware.
It is aware. It's alive. That once you do your paintings, you can submit it directly online to a gallery, or have people, come to your Wii. Whoa. Have people come to your Wii and see your paintings. That would be
like a locker box or
like
something.
A locker. There you go. See, that would be
Give
cool.
me your friend's code and I'll check out your gallery.
That's right. See, that would be cool.
See, no, we know what we're doing.
We know what we're doing. You guys just need to listen to us. We'll take care of you.
Okay.
And the final piece.
Would you like to take that since
Sure.
you kind of get the ball rolling?
Well, this is kind of funny too, because Chris is the one that got me involved in this whole this gunmetal battle stylus. Now, we've talked about this before. For the original Nintendo DS, you'll find that the stylus is kind of subpar. It's very small. It cramps your hand. It's too light. It's cheap. Okay, it's a cheap stylus. They expected you to go with something a little more third party. Well, you've got your official DS replacement stylus in every color that you could want. I even got the special Kirby pink.
One?
I got the Kirby pink stylus.
That would match very well with your Powder Puff Blue DS Lite.
It would.
It's a shame it can't fit in the slot.
It doesn't fit in the slot, though, which I have that problem a lot. But this is a family show. Stop laughing. But anyway, so PDA, what is it, Penang? How do you pronounce that? Penang?
PDA Panache.
Panache. This is a group that we've recommended on dozens of occasions. If you want a good replacement stylus for your DS, they've got this really cool. It's like $15 though, so it's it's one of those things you got to decide. Am I going to see a movie this week, or am I going to buy a stylus? But it's a nice heavy gunmetal stylus with a really cool red tip, and it fits perfectly, absolutely perfectly and solid into the original DS slot. And it was, Chris said he just couldn't say enough good things about it, so I said, okay, I will try it out because $15, but I wanted to replace
I buy anything. Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, the DS Battle Stylus is the bomb. I mean, it's the only thing that I'll use on my original DS. And so we were talking, and we found out that they're making a DS Lite one. It's going to have a chrome finish. It's going to be the bigger stylus. It'll fit properly in there. It's going to be the same price of $14.95, and they're expecting to ship it sometime around the end of June.
Yeah, we'll hopefully get a nice little review for that in the coming months.
Yeah, well, hopefully very soon, within the next month or so. They said they would send Chris over a sample that he could play with. And since, I was going to have him send it to me, and I thought, Chris kind of turned me on to the whole thing. He was kind of the stylus whore. Let him do the review. So, and I'll just pay for mine.
And before I forget, my original review for a PDA Panache Battle Stylus is on our website.
That's
so
right, it is.
Keep an eye out for it. Yeah, it's a little tongue-in-cheek, but it gets the point across. I think the coolest thing about it is the heft and the fact that it's got these little grooves on it, which make it a little. It doesn't slip as much. There's no slippage as you play with the stylus.
Stop it! All this stylus talk is going to get us into trouble.
Yes.
Anyway, that kind of wraps up our touch and go segment. We do have a few last-minute words to discuss about the website. We have been working very, very hard on the website. And for those of you who are casting this and not actually going to the website, you are totally missing out. We have expanded the profile of DS games. So much, in fact, that what are some of the things we've added? We've added...
We've got the descriptions done. We're doing our comments as we speak. We got the genres. We got the percentage of touch versus stylus in the games. We're adding to them as we get to them. Some we just don't know, so we're always looking for people to help us out and give us some information, maybe on a game or two we may have not played, and you can better kind of give us information on how much you're using a stylus for this or not,
Yeah, we've added larger and higher quality box shots.
It's awesome.
It's truly amazing. Where it used to be that if you dug through the database and found a game and you clicked on it, it took you to Amazon or whatever.
Oh, you know what else we added was the worst 25. I don't think we had that in the last show.
Do we even have voting on the last show? Do we have voting?
Yeah, we had we had the voting because we
Yeah.
just started the voting at the time. But
Yeah.
it's a top 25. People seem to be really digging it too.
Yeah.
Like I said earlier, Owenden is actually number 1. I think it's got like an 8.9 or a 9 or something like that.
Dude, that's great stuff.
Yeah, but it's amazing. Some of the games in there. Top Gun is actually in the top 25.
Yeah, how
So
about that?
that's pretty cool. I know. It has like a 7.5, I think.
And then, of course, we added the bottom 25, the worst 25 games on the DS. And as you may have suspected, Elf Bowling is on the top of the list.
Mm-hmm.
And, I know what else we tied into. We tied into some release date information. So now you can actually pull up a list of what's coming up in the future. So when you're ready to plan your trip to GameStop or Target, you can pull up and see what's being released and when.
Yeah, that's another great little addition there. You're really anybody casting us, as we say, you're just missing out. This is really good stuff. Even if I wasn't a part of this show, I'd be all over this website.
It's very, very cool stuff.
Fantastic stuff.
And we're adding descriptions, and we have a quick blurb for most games from both of us with each entry. So it's really good stuff. And hey, what can we tell you other than make your own list? And we've changed the voting so that you can no longer vote for games that aren't out yet. All sorts of good stuff.
Yep.
So hit the site, dualscreenradio.com. Can't miss it.
Nope. It's right on the
right.
website. You hit the website link if you're going through iTunes. It says website. Just give that a click maybe once in a while just to see what's going on at least.
Yeah, see what's going on.
Not forcing you to, but you're only getting half the show. And especially the forums. There's a lot of good stuff going on in the forums.
That's right.
So.
Well, I think that's about going to wrap up this episode.
Oh, yeah.
What do you
Big day.
think?
Big day. We're gonna have to turn aside here and kind of digest what we've seen earlier on the Nintendo conference. So, either next week we may have some kind of special. We'll have to play it by ear, but if not, we'll be back the following week, and we'll see what happens.
Again, hit the forums. You're going to find our quickest and most up-to-date stuff is going to be right there on the forums. So we're already talking about it. Within 2 minutes of the press conference being over with, we were already up there chatting about it. So.
Yep, and by the way, I'll be going to Disney World next week, and I will be hopefully sporting my Dual Screen Radio T-shirt. So if anybody happens to be down there and sees this shirt, give me a hi.
That would be Chris. Too funny. Well, I guess that'll about wrap up this episode of Dual Screen Radio. This is Shane R. Monroe.
And this is Chris Hentschel.
And listening is good.
Listening is good.
It is.
See you later.
Take it easy, folks.
Bye-bye.